Right, well, welcome. Today we're going to be planting some melons and squashes and cucumbers. They have a few tricks that other seeds are not quite so sensitive to. They are actually developed in desert areas. They come from dry areas and they are used to flash floods early on and then dry after that. So what you want to do with your squashes and melons is water them in real well first, and then don't water them anymore or they will soak up too much water and they will just rot inside the seeds. So once they're watered once, you're going to let them dry out a little bit and they will sprout and go searching for some more water. Once they're up, they're a little better. So I've got my cucumbers here. I'm going to put this one away for now. Got my melons, several of those, a delicata squash, and a few other types of cucumbers. So you're going to want a seeding tray like this. You got a couple options on sizes. I quite like these oblong ones. You can get these small ones if you want single seeds or 2 seeds to a cell. This lets you space out 3 seeds or so per cell. I'm going to use these. Keep a map or some sort of chart on what you've planted where so you don't get mixed up and try to figure out what's what. You can put sticks in, they can fall out, they can get broken off. I just like to write it out, and to keep track of what's on here I like to make sure that a couple of my cells are oriented pretty uniquely so I don't get this turned around and not sure which way is which on my chart. So that's how we're going to do this. I'm not going to use these today. I'm going to put those down. You're going to have a tray to hold it to hold runoff water. As you water, some of it's going to leak out. You don't want that leaking in your house or on your counter. If you're in a greenhouse, doesn't matter so much. These are pretty flimsy. They're not very expensive, but they come with a clear plastic dome to put over to keep the humidity in. And because they're a little flimsy to move them around, I just have an old piece of flooring that I use to keep as a support underneath that gives a nice sturdy support under there. So I'm going to put this out of the way a little bit. And then for our seeds, I'm going to write in here, these are oriented this way. These are oriented this way. I'm going to start with just those 2 for now. Put that down. Again, you want a nice fine potting soil. You can buy a potting mix at the store. I use mostly soil out of our chicken pen and the garden. Sifted a little bit to get the rocks out and mixed in with some peat moss to break it up a little bit, maybe a little bit of sand in there. But whatever you got, if you can't afford a new bag of mix or don't want to pay for it, like I don't like to pay for things like that, mix it up yourself and go with that. It should be fine. If you got a lot of bugs in your dirt, you might want to get it wet and microwave it to steam it, or just pour some boiling water into it to sterilize it. Let that drain and dry out and you're ready to go. So I'm going to take my first box here, toss in some soil, get the bigger chunks out, and again nice and loose in there. And you want to fill it to within, you want about, for squashes and melons, you plant them pretty deep. So I'm going to plant my delicatas first in here. You want a good ½ inch of soil above your seeds, maybe even 3/4 of an inch. Nice and deep. Tap that down a little bit, get the bigger pieces out. And then for my delicata, if you can see that, let me pull it forward a little bit. Should be able to see that just fine. Delicatas are here, and I'm going to put 3 per cluster here. Actually, I'm going to put 4, and whichever 3 come up, I'm going to keep 3, space them out like that. 1, 2, 3, 4 in there, and I want about 3 hills of these. Usually plant these, oh, that's all I got anyway, perfect. So when you plant these, you're going to plant 3 in a cluster on what's called a hill. You usually do mound it up a little bit. And they will grow together and they will sort of vine out in different directions and fill in that space. These are somewhat viney. They're gonna need some space to ramble in your garden. Not huge like some squashes, but they do like to spread out a little bit. So once you got those in, you can top up your soil. Get a good 3/4 inch on top of there, like I said. A little bit more. Alright. So now these 3, I guess it would have been easier to write if I'd done 3 across, but that's fine. So those 3 in the corner are my delicata. And I've already turned it away from my map, so let's turn it that way. And now we've got delicata there and delicata there. I'm going to use the rest. I'm going to put some melons in the rest of that. So my delicata's done. Cucumbers, let's do the melons. What do we got here? Hearts of gold muskmelon, that sounds nice. I'll do 3, I'll do 2 of those. And again, these are a little skinnier. I'm going to put in, just back in view, I'm going to put in 4 or 5 of these. This is older seed. So I'm going to put in 5 of those in each one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, and this one's looks empty, so I'm not going to bother with that one. Now you want nice plump seeds. Don't know if you can see. This one's got sort of a dimple, looks sort of hollow, and you pinch it, it doesn't feel like there's really anything in there. You want them nice and plump, so there's definitely seed in there. You can get seeds that don't really have anything in there. So 2 more, 5 in there. Space them out like that. And again, cover them up with some nice fine soil. Looks like the weed trying to start there. And now I got to make sure I remember which ones these are the the hearts of gold that I just planted, and the delicata there. So make sure that goes back into the tray the way I've got it on my chart. And again, you can use sticks in there if you want to do that. I find I lose the sticks. So hearts of gold, hearts of gold, melons. All right. And that's what you're going to do with all of these. Now, when I've got all the rest of these planted, I'm not going to bore you with doing all the rest on camera here, but when you got all the rest of those planted, give them a good watering, let it drain, and then cover them with your dome so it doesn't dry out completely. But you do want the surface of the soil to be a little bit dry. A lot of the other ones, as the plants are starting to germinate, to make them germinate nicely, you do want them to, let me get the camera up here a little bit so you can see me again. You do want the plants to have lots of water to germinate. Melons and squashes are an exception. You don't want them too wet. You want them to plump up, and then you want to let them dry out a little bit. So don't keep them overly damp or they will just rot and not germinate. They do like it pretty warm, so they want a nice 70 degrees sustained temperature. So indoors is good, or in a greenhouse, nice and warm, and again, not too wet, and you'll have some squash. And melons and cucumbers are all in that same family. They all act the same. So good luck with that, and I will be back with other seeds to plant later. Oh, and my kids say, I gotta say, make sure to click like and share, and there's a donate down there, because this is my job now. I teach, and I can't teach anywhere right now, so this is what I'm doing instead. And comment, go ahead and comment what you're planting this year, and check out the other videos, comment on those, like those, share those. Appreciate it, and I will see you later.